If you've been following the PESO model series, you already know that discovery is happening without clicks, and visibility isn't a channel problem anymore. It's a systems problem. We've talked about how the PESO model certification was rebuilt for AI-driven discovery, zero-click visibility, and trust that holds up across paid, earned, shared, and owned media. We've walked through owned and earned as a simple visibility engine. We've covered how shared and paid create momentum when you use shared as a signal and paid as an accelerator, tied to outcomes, of course, not to vanity metrics. And we've learned that integration only works when the pieces amplify one another rather than compete for credit. Which brings us to the part that makes perfectly competent marketers suddenly develop an urgent need to reorganize their spice drawer: measurement. First of all, let me be very clear. An organized spice drawer is necessary. But also, measurement is not math. It's storytelling using numbers. Not, look at all the stuff we did. Not, we posted 17 times. Not, our impressions are up. It's what's changed because we deliberately ran the PESO operating system. In a functioning PESO program, your work is not a pile of disconnected activities. It's an engine. Proof gets created, strengthened, distributed, and scaled through the system. That means your measurement should not read as 4 separate channel reports stapled together. It should read like a clear narrative. Outcome. What changed in the business or behavior are we trying to influence? Proof. What evidence shows we're moving it? Early signals and lagging results. And decision. What will we do next based on what the proof tells us? Sometimes the decision will be to stop doing something because it's not working, and that's perfectly fine. So outcome, proof, decision. In an AI-first world, this becomes even more important because visibility is no longer something you can eyeball with a few traffic charts. The question is whether your system is producing consistent, credible signals across the places humans and AI pull information from. Signals that hold up, repeat, and compound. So, if measurement has been incredibly stressful, it's because you've been handed the wrong assignment. Your job isn't to report outputs. Your job is to tell the outcome story using numbers as the supporting evidence. So a leader can look at your work and say, I get it. I believe it. Keep going. On this week's Spin Sucks podcast episode, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to use numbers to tell your story and walk out of the room a hero.
If you're a communications pro who works hard, doesn't compromise quality, and gets the job done, welcome home. We'll share our tips, tricks, and stories, and together we will change the face of PR. Spin sucks, but we don't. With the Spin Sucks podcast, here's Gini Dietrich.
Welcome back to the Spin Sucks podcast. I'm Gini Dietrich. Before we get started, I have a little tidbit for you. Did you know that if you can't finish watching right now, you can subscribe to the audio version of this show? We're on all the platforms where you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple, or you can subscribe to our newsletter at spinsucks.com. The easiest way to know whether you're doing measurement right is if you can answer what changed. You can answer that in one sentence, you're good. If you can't answer that, you're reporting outputs or activities, not outcomes. And look, reporting these things has its place. Someone has to know that the campaign launched, the content was published, the webinar happened, the executive posted on LinkedIn, and the paid spend didn't accidentally light itself on fire. But none of that answers the question a business actually cares about. What changed? Did more of the right people raise their hands? Did fewer customers churn because they finally understand how to succeed? Did the sales team stop hearing the same 3 objections on every call? Did your brand show up consistently as the obvious answer, whether that answer comes from a human, Google, or an AI system pulling from the most credible sources? If this conversation is still making you super tense and you're not happy with me, I'm willing to bet it's because you've been asked to treat outputs like outcomes. We're going to change that. They're not the same thing. So let me describe what you typically work with. Activities. Activities are the work that you do. So that's the pitching, the posting, the editing, the optimizing, the meeting, the rewriting the thing that you already rewrote twice. Outputs. Outputs are what the work produces. So the news release, a landing page, a newsletter, a webinar, a set of social posts, a paid campaign. Outcomes are what changed because of those things. Behavior shifts, business shifts, decisions made faster, friction reduced, trust increased. Activities and outputs matter because they are inputs to the system, but outcomes are the point of the system. That's your measurement. So let me give you a couple of examples. An output is we published 6 articles this month. An outcome is qualified demo requests increased 18% because the articles that we published answered the exact questions prospects asked before they buy. The second version doesn't just tell me what you made, although it does do that. It tells me what changed and why it changed. Our qualified demo requests increased by 18% because the thing that we produced answers the questions that prospects ask before they buy. Now let's talk about what this looks like in your PESO model operating system. You should absolutely not measure paid, earned, shared, and owned media as 4 unrelated departments competing for attention. But most do it that way and end up with a dashboard that says traffic is up, we got 3 placements, engagement is decent, and cost per click is down. Great. And those are all activities, not outcomes. When you anchor measurement to what changed, you naturally start measuring the system. Owned and earned create clarity and credibility. Shared creates signal and distribution. Paid accelerates what's already proving itself. The question isn't, how did each channel perform? The question is, did the system move the outcome? What changed? A quick way to think about this is to fill in this sentence. What changed? So we changed blank. We changed behavior, business result by blank direction because blank. We did it in the system. So we changed something by doing what, or increasing or decreasing because what? So we changed behavior by 18% because we produced more content that people needed. Or we changed trial to active conversion by increasing week 1 completion because the owned content answered onboarding questions and earned validation that helped reduce skepticism. Or we changed qualified demo requests by increasing high intent page actions because shared distribution pushed the right proof to the right audience and paid amplified only the top performers. Or we changed sales friction by reducing repeat objections because our proof showed up consistently across owned pages, earned mentions, and executive social. Then, and only then, attach the numbers that support it. The numbers are not the story. They're the evidence. Once you get comfortable with what changed, you'll stop measuring like a content factory and start measuring like a business driver hero. Okay, we're going to start small. You don't have to measure things for an entire year. You just have to do it for 90 days. That's it. 90 days is more than enough time for a PESO system to create momentum and short enough that you can learn, adjust, and not die under the weight of 17 competing KPIs. The other thing we're going to do is choose just one outcome. One outcome, 90 days. It's simply a starting point to get you and your leaders used to measuring things differently. That, and if you try to measure everything at once, you will get frustrated and yell into the void at how much you hate me. I don't want that. I'm sure you don't want that. I don't want you to hate me, so let's not do it that way. Your primary outcome should be the one thing the organization cares about most. That's it. Not this, and also brand love, and also thought leadership, and also awareness, and also whatever else it happens to be. This forces your PESO operating system to behave like a system because everything you create, distribute, and amplify should point back to those outcomes. A 90-day window gives you a baseline you can still find instead of digging through 6 months of messy data, a cadence for decisions so you have weekly check-ins, monthly adjustments, and end-of-quarter learnings, and a clear story arc. What we set out to change, what we did, what moved, and what we'll do next. Also, it prevents waiting so long to check results that you can't remember what changed or why you changed it. Great, Jen, but how the heck do I choose an outcome? I have no idea how to do that. I'm so glad you asked in my imaginary conversation. Yay! Here are some outcomes that make sense in the real world and won't make you feel like you need a stats degree. Are you ready? If the goal of the organization, I have a lot of these, so be patient if this is not your goal. If the goal of your organization is to build pipeline, your outcomes might include qualified demo requests, trial starts, consult bookings, or sales qualified leads if your organization uses that definition consistently. If the goal is to retain customers, your outcomes might include onboarding or activation completion, reduced churn, increased renewals, or increased product adoption of key features. If the goal is to build trust, you might look at higher quality reviews, not just more reviews, but higher quality ones, increase positive sentiment in the right places, so customer communities, industry pubs, analyst coverage, fewer sales objections tied to credibility. Who are you? Can I trust you? Is this legit? And increase preference or consideration if you have a way to track that. If your goal is to influence revenue growth, your outcomes might include revenue attributed to marketing, influenced pipeline value, so how much of the pipeline started with marketing, an increase in average deal size, a shorter sales cycle length, a higher close rate, expansion or upsell revenue, or improved win rates in a strategic segment. If the goal is to grow market share, your outcomes might include increased share of category demand, share of voice in priority publications and analyst conversations, increased messaging in a specific vertical or geography, increased competitive win rate, or higher consideration versus competitors. And you can do that in surveys, panels, or sales reported competitive set of data. And lastly, if the goal is to build brand awareness, your outcomes might include increased direct traffic and branded search volume, lift in unaided and aided awareness, increased reach in target audiences, growth in first-time visits from your ideal customer profile sources, increased mentions in relevant creator and media ecosystems, or improved recall of your key message. Awareness counts when it's tied to the right audience and it shows up as future intent. If it doesn't change what people search for, click on, ask about, or remember, it doesn't count. It's just noise. Now that you know which outcome you'll use, and if you have different goals than I've mentioned here, shoot me a note. I'll be happy to help you think through some outcomes. Once you have your outcome, you'll have a simple sentence to complete in the next 90 days. We will increase or decrease priority outcome from baseline to target. So we will increase our brand awareness from 10% to 50%. That's a lot. From 10% to 15% in 90 days, right? That's what we're trying to do. When you measure it with a 90-day outcome, you get permission to say something that most marketers feel like they're breaking a rule. We tried it. It didn't move the outcome, so we're stopping. Most people don't want to say that because they feel like it's a failure. It's not failure. It's leadership. It's data. It's understanding what works and what doesn't. And that's how a PESO operating system gets stronger instead of louder. Before you lock in your 90-day outcome, run through it with this very scientific, highly sophisticated filter. I'm joking, it's not scientific or sophisticated, but run it through this filter all the same. Can we influence it in 90 days? If the outcome requires a total brand repositioning, a new product launch, and Mercury in retrograde, choose something else that's closer to the work. Can we measure it without inventing a new system? If your measurement plan includes, we'll just build a new tracking infrastructure real quick, congratulations, you're not going to do this at all. So don't do that. Can a skeptical leader understand it in one breath? If you need 3 slides to explain the outcome, it's not an outcome, it's a thesis. And does it map to the PESO system? If you can't point to how owned, earned, shared, and paid will work together to move it, you're choosing a metric, also important, but not as part of this, and not an outcome. If you pass those 4 checks, you're good. So can we actually influence it in 90 days? Can we see change? It might be bad change, but can we see change in the next 90 days? Can we measure it without inventing a new system? Can a skeptical leader understand it in one breath? And does it map to the PESO system? If all of those 4 pass, you're good. If you don't, you'll adjust it until you do. When you do this right, measurement stops becoming a postmortem. It becomes steering. It becomes your map. for how you're going to get there. You're not measuring owned performance or earned performance or paid performance. You're measuring whether the PESO operating system is producing outcomes because proof is being created, validated, distributed, and amplified with purpose. And if it isn't, don't panic, don't hide, don't add more metrics, change the system. And if you need help building that system, outcomes, proof signals, decision rules, and the cadence to keep it from running into a quarterly panic spiral, that's exactly what the PESO model certification does. It walks you through how to measure what matters, including AI era visibility, and operationalize it so your work holds up in budget meetings and in the real world. And that is what we want. We want to make measurement extraordinarily easy for you so you do it, that they're outcomes driven, not outputs and activities driven, and that you're excited to be able to report on the great work that you're doing. If you'd like to learn more about the PESO model and its certification, join us in the SpinSucks community. It's a great place to get advice, brainstorm ideas, and build real relationships with your peers. You can find us at spinsucks.com/community. That's spinsucks.com/community. And make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Twitter and Instagram. We're posting tips, how-tos, cheat sheets, and more every week. I'll see you next week. Bye.